how do we take what we have experienced and instill it in the lives of the Central Assembly family? If we don't do that, we've not fully accomplished our mission.
Well, Pastor Don, here we are. We made it to Thailand.
We did.
We made it through our trip.
We did.
Let's take a step back, though, and talk about the very beginning. How did our trip to Thailand begin just in thought?
Well, that's quite a long time ago, Beth. You know, we have this principle that we're going to try as often as we can, working toward maybe once a year, to have what we call a signature global footprint trip somewhere for some form of ministry. I think it's only natural that when you're speaking of global footprint, then we want the trips to be global. We did Europe last year, and it just fell on Thailand. That's just about what I can tell you. Here in retrospect, looking backwards, I think the Lord did it. I just firmly believe this is where He wanted us to be.
There was a partnership that we already had with an organization called Change the Map, led by Mark Doreen, and that really became instrumental in our trip. Can you tell us a little bit about that partnership and where that led us to here now?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Mark Doreen leads Change the Map, and it's a program to change the profile and the face of missions in the Buddhist Hindu region of the world, which Thailand is right in the middle of that. And Mark just developed a vision from God to change the map, which shows this area as the concentration of Buddhism and minimal Christianity. Well, wouldn't you know, after we got everything ready and committed and we're on our way to make the trip a reality, then the Assemblies of God in the larger scale of our national fellowship started talking about something we hadn't heard of before, and they call this the Buddhist Hindu priority. And Change the Map is basically the intercessory prayer segment of that burgeoning activity that covers 3 of our administrative regions of the world. So we found ourselves saying, this is a strategic call that has been made, and we just definitely felt all along that God was leading us to Thailand. That's a trite sounding phrase for some people, but you know, it's a reality too. God does lead, and we feel like He did in this moment.
When people think of traditional missions trips, like the one you all did in Italy last year, where there was a children's vacation Bible school that they did, this was very different in its purpose. Tell us about the purpose of this particular trip.
This trip can't say we are going to do a particular tangible thing like build a building or like conduct a crusade. That wasn't the goal of this trip from the beginning. I started myself calling this trip a vision quest trip, meaning exactly how it sounds. We were going on a quest to find and receive a vision for what Central Assembly and us as individuals could do in this part of the world. We knew we were coming to pray. But not only were we coming to pray for Thai people and Thai churches and about things that impact this nation, but we also were coming as 8 individuals with our eyes open, our hearts open, to hear what God would have us say and be able to respond in the positive for the future.
There were a lot of missionaries that we actually met this week that were so moved at the thought that a church would send a team for the sole purpose of praying and learning. That was something that was very touching to them. You mentioned the team. I want to talk about the team for a little bit that's here with us and how you felt they did this week.
I just don't think we could have been any better in the realm of synergy as a group and unity as a group. I believe it's as honest as I know how to be. We just took the first 8 that the Lord impressed upon us as leaders of the church to take. And I don't think it could have been any better. I have marveled this week at how everybody was so agreeable with one another, which is hard sometimes in travel, so supportive of one another, and that speaks volumes to the people who receive us. Mark has said that we were an easy team to take care of, and we wouldn't want anything any less. So it was a good group of people that got along well and just love each other and love each other more now.
Did you notice the different skill set in their abilities to pray? That's something that I really noticed in each of them individually. When you would call upon one of them to pray for the missionaries, because we met with every missionary that really was available to meet
Right.
with us. We heard their needs, what they needed prayer for, what their focuses were, and you would call upon one member of the team to lead out in prayer. And those were really beautiful moments.
They were very impacting moments, not only for us, but for the person over whom we were praying. And I noticed that, number one, as is kind of natural, everybody's prayer style is unique. Number two, I did not find anybody timid in the whole group. People just plunged in and prayed as though it was their custom to find total strangers every day. I also was impressed by the fact that we prayed in restaurants with people all around us. We prayed in hallways. We prayed in hotels. We prayed in public places all the time, and nobody seemed put off by that. Nobody in this group. I just came to the point where I felt like these guys, before they ever left the United States, knew what we were going to do and did it.
What is your hope, Pastor Don, as we move forward and we go back home and take this with us?
Well, I think you're right. I think in a certain sense, a more complicated part of the trip is in front of us. We've got a lot of distilling to do, a lot of debriefing to do with one another in many different ways. One of the big questions we have to ask is, how do we take what we have experienced and instill it in the lives of the Central Assembly family? If we don't do that, we've not fully accomplished our mission. I'm firmly convinced that Central can have a long impact in this nation. But that's going to depend upon our ability to communicate what God has done to us and for us and through us. I think that has started. And I think that we are all eight of us, I feel, are fully committed to keep everything going straight forward until we feel like we have crossed a threshold to where what we wanted to do becomes possible.
This being our second footprint trip, we are learning as we go, and we're learning so much with every trip. How do you think this trip in particular to Thailand will influence future trips for Central?
Well, I think one thing it will do, it will make us rethink the foundational purpose of a trip. As we've said already, this was not to do tangible work of any sort, but to do spiritual work. And to me, that opens a very exciting door. I think we will take future signature footprint trips where we are doing crusade work or we're building buildings or teaching classes. I think we will still do that, but I think we will be quicker and more readily available to listen and respond to the opportunities to do things like this again. You know, we may just need to come out and listen and do assessment of how we can be involved at a later date. And, you need to felt needs where you're going, not just necessarily do what we want to do, but find out what the felt needs are in a location. So I think this has taken away the restriction that you've got to have a definite, we are going to be doing this type of approach, and say we're just going out there to be what God needs us to be in this moment. And in Thailand, it happened to be prayer warriors, and I saw 8 prayer warriors. So may God do that again, maybe even in a different fashion.
Okay, lastly, this is your final trip before you retire.
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling?
You didn't have to ask that. I'm trying not to think of that. But I do think about it a lot. This is my last formal overseas trip as missions pastor. I don't have any others planned. Will I ever travel again? If I do, it will be unofficial. Maybe Deborah and I will do that together. But you're right. As missions pastor, this is one of the last three big things that I have to do. It is a poignant moment. I've tried to stay away from it. Today, it wasn't quite possible to do that. Everything becomes the last time you're doing it. But no regrets, no sadness, no remorse, no hesitation just to move into the next season of our life. But we will go with incredible memories of events just like this one. And I can't imagine a team involvement that will come out on top of these last few days together.